What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Savvy. Welcome back to the Savvy Show. And in today's episode, y'all see the thumbnail, guys. We got another animation from Dr. Bob. And this one looks interesting because it doesn't seem anything too crazy, but at the same time, nothing super straightforward. This is SCP-482, Mentally Mutating Straitjacket. So I'm assuming this SCP is literally a straitjacket, but maybe it changes or gets tightened the more crazy the patient gets, or vice versa. The more sane that she gets, the looser the jacket would, have its effect, and then the patient could be, free from the jacket after the patient's cured, per se, with whatever insanity that they're dealing with. Maybe that's how it's gonna work. We shall see. It looks pretty interesting, to say the least. So with that all out the way, if you guys are excited for this reaction, like always, smash that like button if you guys do enjoy it along the way. Also smash the sub button, join the family if you're not already part of it. Make content like this all the time for you guys. So if you guys do enjoy my reaction style, you like the genres I cover, this will be the best place to be to get your fix of SCP heat. And now, without any further ado, let's get this show started. Alrighty, SCP-482, Mentally Mutating Straitjacket. Let's go.
Honestly, no. It doesn't feel like anything is working, the woman tells the man who is seated across the room from her. She's been coming to see him for several months now, but she doesn't feel like she's made progress on any of her issues. The man listens and nods as he jots down some notes on his pad of paper. He has something he wants to discuss with her. She may feel as though she's run out of options, but there is one other thing they could try. He's seen lots of success using this with his other patients, though it's a technique that many would deem to be rather unconventional. The woman is unsure. Unconventional techniques don't exactly instill her with confidence. But at this point, what did she have to lose? The man stands up and motions for the woman to follow him. He leads her out of his office to a section of his practice that she's never seen before.
Bro, that doctor has to be related to Dr. Bob. His face is covered in everything too. Runs in the family. Come on now.
Where they stop in front of a closed door. On the door is a window covered by a curtain, and she notices that there are a set of strong locks as well. He unlocks the door and ushers her inside, where she finds that it is a small room, maybe 10 feet across at most, with thick padding on the floor and walls, and bright white lights set into the ceiling. He tells her to wait there just a moment and to make herself comfortable before he excuses himself. The woman looks around at the padded room, wondering just what it is that she's agreed to. The man returns, and now he's holding something. A garment bag. He unzips it to reveal a dark piece of clothing inside, but when he takes it out, she sees now that it isn't clothing at all, at least not any normal kind.
Whoa.
It's a straitjacket. The woman is scared.
I thought straitjackets are usually white. But who knows, I probably could be wrong because the only ones I ever seen was in movies. So.
Unsure if she wants to go through with this, and he does his best to put her at ease. If she's uncomfortable, she certainly doesn't have to do anything she doesn't want to.
Oh yeah?
But he reiterates that he has had great results using this with some of his other patients.
Okay, that's different though, because if she does it, I'm sure she can't get out of it if she starts. So this only works if she's actually opting out right now. Like, say she wants to do it now, and then while she's halfway through the process, she doesn't want to do it. I doubt you could kind of stop it, because, it's an SCP. But we shall see.
It's been something of a miracle cure. Well, no, cure is the wrong word. He corrects himself and explains that this won't cure her in the way that she's probably thinking, but rather what he's found is that this therapy is able to provide a momentary relief from symptoms, a chance to see what life is like without being plagued by the issues that have led her to seek his help.
Momentary? So it's not even permanent. So she will always have to use this. They'll always make her come back for more. Kind of like, drug. Because, it's not fixing anything. It's just subduing what she normally feels.
Once she has gotten a glimpse at what life is like without these burdens, they can work towards bringing her back to that point through other therapies and techniques. This might be just the breakthrough she needs to finally make something work.
Why would she need to do that then? Because I'm sure she didn't have this trauma throughout her whole life, so there was a point in her life where she was okay. So she could just go back on those memories. Make it seem like she had amnesia. She doesn't remember how to feel good anymore. Like that never happened to her in her life.
The woman is still skeptical, but she is desperate to find anything that will help her escape the thoughts constantly plaguing her mind, so that she can get back to being the person she wants to be. And after a moment of thought, she agrees to go through with the procedure.
Let's see it.
The therapist tells the woman to hold her arms out in front of her and places the straitjacket on her. She can see and feel now that it is made of black leather, and it fits her perfectly, almost as if it were made just for her. She turns around, and he pulls the straps tight before fastening them in place. The woman, standing in the small padded room and fully constrained by the black leather straitjacket, turns to the man and asks, "Now what?" "Now we wait," he tells her before backing out of the room.
Wow.
Warning, though. Now a
Oh,
warning,
now?
she says. "This is a one-off procedure. You can only do it once," he tells her before closing the door. She's
What?
confused. Is this the procedure?
A one-off procedure? So she could only feel this feeling once. Okay, so I don't think she's coming back alive from this, one. Or two, this is pointless. For these kind of procedures, you have to do it like again and again so she knows what it feels like to, be normal in her own state of mind. But if it's only a one-off procedure, you only get it one time. So would this really have that much effect for her to feel good going forward? I don't know.
He's locking her in a cell? What is going on? She never should have agreed to this. Her mind starts to race,
Too late.
filling with bad thoughts, and they get even worse when the lights suddenly go out. She starts to panic, breathing heavily in the dark from both fear and from being constricted by the leather straitjacket. She calls out that she has changed her mind. She doesn't want to do this after all.
No backing out.
No response.
Yep.
She's serious. She wants to end this right now and leave the room. It isn't working. It's actually making her feel worse. All the fears and anxieties that plague nearly every moment of her life come
God.
rushing in at once. Her mind races as she can feel all the telltale signs of a panic attack
Maybe
starting.
it's part of it?
A million little issues pulling her apart at the seams, leaving her stretched out and helpless to do anything to stop it. But then suddenly, there's a change. Like a cool breeze blowing across her face, the feelings of hopelessness and despair start to dissipate.
Oh.
Her anxieties feel as though they were melting away into the dark, leaving her with only the comforting embrace of the straitjacket. It isn't that she feels happy necessarily. She simply feels normal, content with herself and her situation. It's an incredible feeling, and she basks in the joy of not feeling bad.
It's working.
She doesn't know how long she's in the dark room feeling content. Minutes, maybe hours. But eventually the door opens and the lights come on. Her session is over. She leaves the office with a new perspective on life.
Wow.
Most of the feelings of satisfaction have gone away already,
alive.
but still she feels renewed, ready to tackle her issues so she can feel what she felt in the straitjacket again, so she can feel normal. By the next day, though, her new lease on life is completely gone, and she's on the phone with the man pleading with him to let her come in immediately and wear the straitjacket again. He warned her, though, that it was a one-off procedure. Too much exposure is dangerous.
Oh.
She needs to focus on other treatments instead. The woman...
Okay, so maybe that's for her own good. That makes sense. But what's the point of doing that for her, though? I mean, for her to just remember how it is to feel normal? Why can't you just talk to her about moments when she is normal or when she was normal before all this traumatic stuff happened in her life? So she could replay those memories instead of getting probably, pseudo-addicted to the straitjacket.
The woman only wants to come wear it for a little bit, though. Just a few minutes to feel that way again. He tells her it's impossible, though. She should be happy it was so successful and move on to new techniques. And besides, he's leaving for a conference and won't be back for a week.
Oh.
They can discuss things again when he gets back.
That's perfect time for her to break in and try this on for a whole week. Let's see how well this goes.
It's raining that night as a figure in a dark coat breaks the glass on the front door and
There we
reaches
go.
through to unlock the door. The woman enters the office and hangs her wet jacket on the wall.
Saw that coming.
Her flashlight illuminates the room they have their sessions in. No one is there. She walks deeper into the building and spots the door to the padded room.
Oh no.
She passes by and goes even further to a back room that she's never been in before. In the room, against a wall, is a metal trunk. She opens it to find the dark garment bag with the leather straitjacket inside.
How you
What do
gonna
you
put
want me
it
to
on?
do again? The young man asks. He was just supposed to be delivering a pizza, and his boss would be angry to learn that he allowed a customer to invite him in. "This is my office," she tells him, "and I'm working on some new techniques for my patients, but I need to try them out myself first. That makes sense, right?" "Well, sure, I guess."
And he's not even worried about the broken glass at the front door. He's not even commenting about yo, what happened? Did someone break in? Come on.
He responds. "But for this particular one, I need some help. It's a secret, though, so I can't get any of my colleagues to help me. But you can help me, right?" The young man nervously swallows the soda she's given him and nods in agreement. She explains that all he has to do is help her tighten the straitjacket, close the door, turn off the lights, and listen. In a little while, when she's finished, she'll ask him to come inside and take it off her. That's it. The young man still seems a little wary of the request. "What happened to your door?" he asks.
Thank
But she
you.
ignores his question and pushes a wad of cash into his hand. The young man shuts the
Damn.
door to the padded cell, and a moment later, the lights go out.
What if he leaves?
The woman is almost immediately taken back to the same mental place she was before. All of the thoughts that constantly repeat in her mind The ones that she's never able to turn off suddenly go quiet.
See what bad
She
happens.
sighs with relief in her dark, safe space. But then she feels something. Not in her mind, but on her face. A twitch, just a little facial spasm. But then another. There's something wrong. Her face suddenly feels very tight, like it's being stretched. Her eyes grow wide. Her mouth pulls into an unintentional sneer. The young man hears the woman's muffled cries from inside the room and opens the door. But what he sees causes him to emit his own scream before he turns and runs out of the office into the stormy night. What the heck? The man thinks as he looks at the broken window on his office door. He enters to see that the door is still unlocked and that there's glass on the floor inside. He walks inside his office and looks around and doesn't see anything. But in an instant, there's a moment of realization.
Uh-oh.
He runs to the back, to the door to the padded cell.
Sprinter.
The door to the room is ajar, and he listens. Is that breathing inside?
She's
He opens the
alive?
door to the dark cell and turns on the light. The black leather straitjacket is sitting in the middle of the floor.
She's out of it.
Except it isn't the floor anymore. Now, instead, a stretched layer of skin is spread across the padded room, with the outline of flattened bones visible underneath. The man's mind can't comprehend what it is that he's looking at.
She got
And he sees
flattened?
it. In the far corner of the room is the stretched out face of the woman, her eyelids pulled too tight to blink, leaving her eyes staring up at him.
What the heck?
Through a stretched, contorted mouth, she whispers, "Help me."
She's still alive? Okay, how is this even function? Yo, what the heck is going on?
Is there anything crueler than an object that is able to treat your mental health issues, yet has some of the most devastating side effects imaginable?
How's she still alive, though?
In this humble doctor's opinion, no.
That's sad.
And today's anomaly is just such an object. Designated SCP-482, it is perhaps better known as the mentally mutating straitjacket. SCP-482 is a black leather straitjacket that is quite similar in appearance and construction to a mass-produced version, though as you'll see, it is completely unique. Although the straitjacket is comparable in size to other medium-sized versions, it is somehow able to fit virtually any and all body types and sizes.
How did the doctor get this, then? Like, I mean, he has to be related to Dr. Bob. There's no other question.
A tag inside contains the words, "Made in Xiaoyan, hand wash only, no acerahena powder," in faded text, though neither the city nor acerahena powder appear to exist in any records that the SCP Foundation has been able to locate. There are no signs of wear on SCP-482, but there are several cuts on the straps that cinch the garment closed, and testing has shown that it is able to be further damaged, though any additional investigations of the extent to which it can be damaged have been suspended due to the lack of viable duplicates.
Ooh.
The real anomalous effects of SCP-482 occur when the straitjacket is worn, and the two main effects, which occur one after the other, have been designated as time point alpha and time point beta. Time point alpha is used to refer to the initial stage of a subject wearing SCP-482 and can last a varied period of time, though it is most often between 1 and 6 hours of wear. During this period, the subject will report feeling mentally better, and any negative mental afflictions that they suffer from or are forced to deal with will appear to disappear completely. Additionally, any medications that they may be on will have their effects negated entirely, leading to them returning a result on Foundation standard psychological tests that is consistent with a baseline mentally stable individual. The effects of time point alpha are temporary, and once the subject is separated from SCP-482, any mental illnesses they are living with will be seen to return, but they will disappear once more if the straitjacket is worn again. However, the amount of time a subject spends experiencing the effects of time point alpha are cumulative, and given enough time inside of the straitjacket, they will always eventually reach the second stage of SCP-482.
Oh, so it doesn't matter how many times you put an offer on. There's a certain time limit if you reach it while you have it on, which will trigger the phase 2. Okay.
Time point beta refers to the subsequent time period that passes if a subject is still wearing SCP-482 once time point alpha lapses. During this period, the changes to the subject will no longer be mental, and instead, they will begin to experience physical effects. The exact nature of the physical changes will vary, though they do seem to be related in some way to the subject's own mental health issue, with the degree of the change also seemingly related to the severity of their issue. Through the testing of SCP-482 by Foundation researchers on D-Class personnel, a number of different manifestations of the straitjacket's anomalous effects have been documented, and they're recorded in a file designated Experiment Log SCP-482. In the first test, A male D-class diagnosed with schizophrenia was placed inside of the leather straitjacket. He immediately reported feeling eerily calm, and he was observed to simply sit and stare at the wall with a blank expression for 2 hours and 49 minutes.
2 hours.
A period which was later determined to be his time point alpha. Time point beta began 1 minute later at 2 hours and 50 minutes when the subject's body began to contort, and he remarked that he was in a great deal of pain. Various parts of the subject's body began to increase in mass and size, including his head, as his eyes began to bulge out. He called in agony while attempting to make eye contact with the researchers who were observing through a glass viewing window for 34 minutes until a termination order was given. Subsequent examination of the subject's body revealed that his body mass had increased by roughly 180% due to rapid bone and muscle growth.
Is he still alive too? Does it not matter what happens to these patients, even if it's so gross or like even small, they still survive some way, somehow?
It's unclear what physical process caused this, though genetic tests showed that his DNA had abnormally shortened telomere strands. The observers also reported they experienced an unnatural feeling that rendered them unable to move in a normal manner while the subject was making eye contact with them. For the second test, another male D-class, the one who had been diagnosed with a paranoid personality disorder, was placed in the straitjacket. During his alpha exposure, he reported a satisfying quiet in his head, with none of the disembodied voices that normally plagued his thoughts speaking to him. He still appeared content after 2 hours and was taken out of the suit, though after requesting to be placed back inside, he was allowed to return to wearing SCP-482. After an additional
Really? Just because he asked for it? Wow, okay.
1 hour and 30 minutes, though, the beta exposure began.
Dang.
Visible bulges appeared on his neck and shoulders, and after 4 minutes, he began screaming for someone to stop talking and get out of his head. More bulges appeared on his body, and audio recording equipment in the room picked up mysterious sounds that analysis has revealed to have been as many as 7 distinct voices speaking in an unknown language.
Wouldn't that be mental then? Because I thought they changed the person's body physically after they reached the second stage, not mental anymore. But it seems like now it's both physically, like he's physically getting mutated, and he's getting more voices in his head, which I'm assuming that's a mental thing, or unless it's like actual physical voices that some way somehow is existing, but I don't know.
The termination order was issued 25 minutes later, and a later autopsy revealed that each bulge actually contained a fully formed mouth and voice box.
Oh, it is! Wow, and I thought I was stupid for thinking that. Oh my goodness, it was legit voices.
Doctors also reported that during the test, they had seen flashes of movement in their peripheral vision. Subsequent review of the taped footage revealed small shadows appearing and disappearing in the room throughout the test. Next up was a female D-class who had been diagnosed with hyperphagia, which is a disorder that can cause an extreme increase in appetite and can remove the ability to satiate one's hunger. Upon being placed in SCP-482, she remarked that, "For the first time ever, I am actually full." She felt this way for 1 hour and 58 minutes. After which she began to feel a pain in her abdomen.
Well, this is fast for her.
The D-class fell into the fetal position as the pain increased, and her limbs were observed to begin retracting into her body, accompanied by loud snapping sounds, as presumably the bones started to crack and break. "Oh God, it's eating me! Oh God, it hurts!" she cried out, and a termination order was immediately issued. The autopsy that followed revealed that the woman's body had somehow formed a second digestive system that had begun to consume her own body mass, and if left unchecked, would have eventually digested it in its entirety.
Oh my God.
Following this test, the observing researchers reported that they were unable to satisfy their own hunger cravings with normal amounts of food, and several of them actually had to be restrained by security staff in the on-site cafeteria.
They were affected?
Luckily, these urges appeared to fade after several days.
Okay.
In the final test, a D-class personnel with pyromania was placed in SCP-482.
Let's see.
Despite the impulse control disorder normally causing them to start fires whenever given the chance, they now ignored all of the flammable materials offered to them by researchers. After 1 hour and 33 minutes, though, thermometers in the testing room noted a sudden sharp rise in temperature. This was followed by a powerful explosion of heat and flames when the D-class spontaneously ignited.
Is he still alive now,
too? The testing room was completely destroyed, and nearby hallway A13 suffered catastrophic damage.
No way he survived.
All observing researchers were also lost in the conflagration.
Okay.
SCP-482, though, survived. Surprisingly, the body of the D-class was also able to be recovered, and though the autopsy was made difficult due to the heat it still exuded, a discovery was made. Inside the body, a new organ was found, one that appeared to be sustaining some type of constant reaction that produced heat, as well as strong magnetic waves. and this organ has been placed in containment for future study.
Okay, wow. So these D classes are legit actually getting mutated. They're not just like suffering these random abilities and dying. No wonder most of these people are surviving. Like their DNA is getting shifted, or they're getting all these weird new organs for them to somehow survive the calamities that fell upon them. That is very, very interesting.
SCP-482 is currently being kept in a containment locker at a secure site, with access restricted to Level 2 personnel and above. The maximum time allowed for testing is 1 hour after mutations manifest, and any test subjects who reach time point beta are to be terminated. Following termination, SCP-482 is to be removed from their body prior to autopsy. The straitjacket is then to be thermally cleansed and all biological traces of the prior subject removed before it is used for testing again.
Oh, God.
Now, I bet you are telling yourself, well, this sounds pretty easy to contain. I bet this is a safe class anomaly. And normally, I would agree with you. But perhaps you noticed something strange in the experiment log. Did you pay attention to the reports from observing researchers that they too had begun to experience some rather unusual effects simply from watching SCP-482 affect a subject? Did it seem to you as though the mentally mutating straitjacket was somehow projecting the mental illnesses experienced by the subjects onto those observing it? It appears that there may be more to SCP-482 than first meets the eye.
Yeah.
And this mystery only deepens when one reads the containment procedures on this anomaly's file and realizes that the person overseeing SCP-482 research is none other than SCP Foundation legend, Dr. Bright. Is the actual testing of SCP-482 not actually taking place on the D-Class personnel, but on the SCP Foundation researchers? A convoluted experiment designed to discover the true extent of its anomalous effects. When it comes to this Euclid-class anomaly, only Dr. Bright knows for sure.
Damn.
Now go and watch another entry from the files of Dr. Bob, like SCP-767.
That's even more interesting. Dr. Bright's on this one. I mean, I'm probably just going to read the file, to be honest. I doubt they could jam-pack everything about this SCP in an animation. This one seems a lot more than what meets the eye compared to other ones, so let's finish this though.
Seen photographs for another inanimate object that appears to actually be quite active. And make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single anomaly as we delve further and further into the SCP Foundation's classified archives.
Well, Dr. Bob survived somehow. So, with that being said, if you guys did enjoy this animation, please smash that like button and also smash that sub button, join the family. And let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought about this SCP. If you guys expected it to be what it is, or were you surprised about any features that it does have because your boy was. So, with all out the way, unfortunately, that concludes today's episode. However, I'll catch you guys on the next one.